Hey, how's it going, everyone? It's your boy Sinister here, one half of the gamer section, here with another gaming review. And before we get started, let our guest introduce himself.
Yep, yeah, my name is DJ Jones. I also go by Last Benevolence. I'm the creator of the Quartercade.
All right. I'll say first things first. What got you into gaming?
Ooh, man, that's a good question. I remember the first game console that I ever had ever played. That was the Sega Genesis, and I remember my dad had gotten it for me. I was I want to say about four years old, and it had the little no, not for resale thing on it, where it
Right.
had Sonic 2 with it. And so yeah, I used to play Sonic 2 with my little brother as we were growing up, just over and over again. And yeah, that's really what got me into gaming.
Okay. Any favorite games?
Ooh, favorite games of all time. That's an easy one. Fantasy Star Online Episode 1 and 2. That is the greatest game ever, and I told my wife I'm going to plug that into any interview about the Quartercade because I got it playing on the Quartercade. So
All right.
natively, Fantasy Star Blueburst. So
All right.
yeah.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of the Quartercade, what's it all about? How did the idea come about, and when did you start it on it?
It was a couple of. I would say it was about two or three things. Me and my wife, we were trying to think of something to help us get some funding because we've been kind of struggling with that. I'm a game developer myself, indie developer, and we had a project that we had gotten funded, hip hop JRPG, by the name of the TOTE, or the Tales of the Elements.
Okay.
And we needed more funding, and it's very difficult to get funding as a dev,
Right.
especially now. And so we've been working odd jobs and stuff, and then I was like, what, I need something that's going to be able to help us. But then at the same time, I was thinking, maybe I should build arcade machines because I know how to flash, PCs and things like that, and build PCs. And I had flashed an old PC to replace a Raspberry Pi for an arcade machine that I have in our game room. And so I was like, maybe I should do that. But then I was like, yeah, but it's illegal to have all of the ROMs and stuff, on them. And so
Hmm.
especially now with the FBI cracking down on them.
Right.
So I was like, well, I wanted to do like a little, like a PC or something where it would run like Steam or something on it. And then so finally, at the same time, I want to say it was about a week later after I started kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do on the side, the Nintendo Switch 2 was announced.
Right.
And so the Nintendo Switch 2 is announced, and then everyone's like, yay, but then like they see the prices and stuff, and they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then we're like, and I made a video about it, and I'm like, this is kind of odd. Like, it's like we're leaving the little guy behind when it comes to gaming. And I said, well, who's gonna come out with Xbox raising their prices, uh, Sony raising their prices even, or Microsoft, Sony. Finally, I was like, who's gonna come out with a console, a budget console for anybody? And then it was like we waited, and then finally I was like, I did some research, and I was like, you know what? What if I came out with something? I got PC hardware and was able to put that together, and obviously configure it, reconfigure that, and then come up with basically a PC console hybrid that would be cheap, affordable, for those who just want to game on a budget, and so that's literally the entire story of it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. What about the name itself? Like, who did you or your wife come up with the idea?
So I came up with the idea. The first name that I came up with was the Cutie Cade, because I'm thinking of like a small little compact, and I was like, it's cute.
Right.
But then I was like, you know what though? I feel like that's a funny little name. I was like, I'm not sure if that's gonna work, and I can't remember exactly what moved me over to the quarter, but I was thinking of an arcade, or arcades, and how arcades were really, the entry level point of gaming back in the day. Like,
Yeah,
you go
that
in
was
and
my time. Like that's where I started at.
yeah, yeah. And what's interesting about that, it only costs, maybe a quarter or maybe a couple quarters. And so then I was like, the Quartercade, it's small, it's
Yep.
compact, and it's the entry level, position for gaming. And so that's where I came up with the idea.
All right, yeah, because I mean, looking at the design, it's like I see like all these different colors. Like the one I interested the most is that crossfade. It's got that that blue, that neon electric blue, and that yellow, like neon yellow. It's like okay, so it's like how did y'all like come up with the design of it?
Yeah, so I was coming up with this on my own at first. It was like maybe the first month or so into it, where I was actually testing out games on it, on the prototype. And then, like, my good friend Tucker, I was like, you know what, you want to come in and help me with this thing? And he was like, sure. So he actually learned, like, completely taught himself how to use resin, and like different, pigments and, things like that,
Okay,
to create this like liquid like art, in the resin, and then cure it and create these different tops for it. So like different style, lids. And so, as a matter of fact, actually I got the Quartercade right here. I just unplugged it. And so he's like using resin and different, like,
that's awesome.
pigments and stuff, and he's like putting it together. And so it's like he came up with this idea, and the reason why was because when we were going over different ideas of how we wanted it to look, we were like, we thought of the Game Boy Color back in the day, when it had like the semi-transparent look, and the
Yeah.
only way that we could get that look was with resin. As a matter of fact, I do have one of the tops, and actually I got a bunch of the tops right here, and
All right.
some of them have like that semi-transparency, to it, like this one right here.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
like once you put that one in, put it on the top of your Quartercade, then you'll be able to like see the guts in it, when you're playing. So just like a Game Boy Color, but back in the day.
All right.
So yeah.
All right. Well, let's get under the hood. Like, there's any specs you want to, you could probably tell us, or possibly, or what can you tell us about what's under the hood?
You know what? I could tell you whatever you want to know, man.
Hey,
It's
fire
an
away.
yeah. It's running on an AMD APU. So if you know what an APU is, I'm sure you're probably familiar with from some tech. The AMD
Yep.
has been coming out with these CPUs that have iGPUs on them,
Right.
integrated graphics on them, that play games. Like, they're not just for a regular laptop. Like, you could literally play games on these integrated
Okay.
graphics units, and so they call them APUs. And so it's running an APU. It's same tech that really is that Xbox just announced their PC console hybrid is going to have, and
Oh, the
which, by
Magnus.
the yeah, like the new one coming out, same tech that's used in a Steam Deck, same tech that apparently is going to be used in the Steam machine, which they just announced a few
Right.
days
Yeah, I
ago.
seen the steam machine. It's like I know, it's just like a little quarter view boxes. Yeah, but
Yeah. It is funny too, because I work with, under the name Last Benevolence. I also make music. I'm a producer and recording artist. And there's an artist I work with. He does nerdcore hip hop. His name's
okay.
Mega Ran. And Mega Ran, he contacts me, with the news, and he's like, "Hey, it looks like they stole your idea, man." I was like,
That's why you always got to trademark your stuff.
hey, it just gets weird with that, and you have to tread softly, because there's this thin line between, trying to protect an idea and going full on Nintendo.
Right. Oh yeah, because
So
like lawsuit city. That's
yeah. And I like to say that Steam, and I just want to say this, Steam, they seem to still be batting for gamers. They seem to be the only company right now that's still trying to do what gamers want them to do and still be
Right.
connected with the community. So I'd rather them be our friends than be our enemies or something like that. We do friendly competition maybe,
Right.
but I don't think I'd want them to be our enemies. As a matter of fact, they're aware of the Quartercade. They
Okay.
actually acknowledged the project a few months ago through an email, so they know what I'm doing.
Well, that's cool. We get that connection and the support from them. Yeah, it's like basically like on the platform, like what's gonna be on it? Like what kind of games? Like is it gonna be retro? Is it gonna be modern?
That's a good question. So it is running on a modified version of Arch Linux. So
Okay.
basically, an Arch Linux based operating system. We're calling it the Quartercade OS. Just you know, but basically, it boots into a controller led menu, and it allows you to access Steam, and it allows you to access like the Epic Games, the Heroic Games launcher, which is connected to Epic Games and it's connected to GOG. So we're talking PC libraries. So you have your PC libraries. You can play all your Steam games if you're whether you're a new Steam user or an old Steam user that has a bunch of games and you're just priced out of the market. You'll be able to access all those games and build your libraries that way. But also, as far as retro goes, um, I mean, obviously, with it being a PC console hybrid, you can run some emulators on there, but we try not to talk too much about that. We don't want them ninjas coming after us. So.
Oh yeah, especially when it comes to emulation. But as far as the
Mhm.
modern aspect goes, like what's gonna be on there? Like do you have like other launchers other than Steam?
Oh yeah. So the Heroic Games launcher will be on there. Lutris is, well, kind of, it's becoming my favorite because with that one, they have their own like system and website where they're hosting games in the name of game preservation, and I'm a big advocate for game preservation. And
Oh, same
I
here.
mean, yeah, and I'll tell you what, I've been through Lutris. I've been able to actually load it up with like old MMOs and stuff like that. I got, like I mentioned, Fantasy Star. I got Fantasy Star Online, Blue Burst running on the Quartercade natively. I have Fantasy Star Universe running on it natively through like private servers, and even an old game that me and my wife look on fondly when we were dating, and even when we were engaged, we would play Terra online, and I got that running on it. So it's like, Lutris is a launcher that I'm really starting to have a real attachment for. But that's another launcher that runs on there. So you have Steam, Lutris, and Heroic Games launcher.
Okay. Ever plan on putting an Epic Game Store or GOG probably down the line, or you just sticking to the what you have right now?
Yeah, so the Hero Games launcher actually handles both of those.
Okay.
So it'll your GOG library, which again, game preservation,
Right.
that will run through the Hero Games launcher, and then your Epic Games library will run through the Hero Games launcher. Another thing about that launcher, it was made to actually work with Steam decks.
Right.
um a lot of the software kind of started with the Steam Deck community, and so now that it's this stuff runs on Linux, we're able to like customize it
Right.
and go ahead and run that through I wouldn't even call it an ecosystem because it's really not a closed ecosystem. It's just
Exactly.
whatever is running on Linux. And so but any user would be able to access that on the Quartercade with just a controller. So It's nice.
Okay. All right. Probably just gonna get down to the important part, the cost.
Yeah, so 349.99 is the starting cost right now.
Okay.
And I tried to drop it as much as I could. Well, the thing was, obviously the units cost money. Shipping them to us, so we're able to customize them and you know to flash them and put the operating system on it and do our art and all that on the top, and slapping the logo on it and everything. But that on top of obviously um the you know get, just getting it to people and trying to have at least a little bit of a margin. Our margins are real slim for each unit. We're talking about $30, $20 to $30 per unit that we get whenever we're selling the units. But we're hoping that we don't have to. There's a chance that we're going to have to raise it just slightly because of just certain getting certain parts and putting them together. We're trying to come up with a Quartercade 2.0 right now because we're trying to reach a different, more custom like form factor. So in that way, that form factor will be a little bit more unique. Um, Folks aren't. We've gotten feedback about the form factor, and I mean, while some like it a lot, some are like, "Oh, it looks too much like a mini PC," and we're like, "Okay, like we'll try to make it shaped a little odd, so people will look at it and say, okay, that looks more like the unique console that we want it to look like." And obviously, that's going to cost a little bit in the beginning, but if we end up doing that, then I'm gonna probably be taking each component and outsourcing them and then just basically pooling more of the manufacturing in-house instead of relying on our supplier on the outside. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. We got a question. Hey, shout out to Honest Gamer, and he's asking you, what does the controllers look like?
What does the controllers look like? You give me a second here. I think I have a controller right here. Hold on. Uh, Not quite as fancy as that Steam controller that they were showing off, but this is what we got. We got
All right. That's awesome.
the quarter control, and it's when the video comes out of us showcasing the console live. There's a little clip where I'm showing a group of folks what the controller is like because one of the guys was playing Miles Morales, and while he was playing Miles Morales on the Quartercade, he everything was like super wiggly. He was like, like, what's going on with the screen there? And I was like, because you got the gyro on, and so this thing actually has gyro. It works through Bluetooth, and I went and showed them, and I'm like showing them like the gyro moving the screen just by moving the controller like that, and they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And they're cheap controllers. They're not, they have Hall effect, so they're
Right.
gonna last you for a while, and they're little tiny guys. They're not the most comforting form factor. If I'm gonna be completely
Okay.
honest, I got big hands, so yeah, I got big, but they're tight though. They're cool. They're better than a Nintendo Nintendo
Right.
Switch. Those little Joy Cons. But yeah, they're pretty cool controllers. They light up too. And the one thing that I like is this is my favorite feature right here.
Oh, that's cool.
Because of PC, you can switch it between the PS5 or the Xbox, like um, control scheme. And so
Okay.
basically, it shows both of those face buttons. If you can kind of see it, it has A and X in the same spot, and like B and circle, and stuff like that. So yeah.
All right. Honest has another game, but of course, even though we could have mentioned it earlier, but to say, were you able to play games on Epic Game Store and GOG and the Quartercade? Even though you might as well summarize, even though you gave the answer. But
Yeah. The answer is yes. Yeah.
yep, there you go. All right. Speaking of the prices, like because you know about the big threes, like yeah,
Mhm.
what's the difference between that and versus the big three?
Yeah. So, and this is just being honest. This is a budget. This is a budget console. This is not going to run like 4K 60 FPS. You know, like 120 FPS. You know, something crazy. You know, but it's going to play your library. It's going to play your library. It'd be kind of cool if we could like, as I'm saying this, kind of show a little bit of the game play, because there are games that we were running at the demo. I mentioned Miles Morales. We were also running the remastered version
Okay.
of Horizon Zero Dawn, and
Okay.
it played at 60 FPS, and it looked beautiful. I mean, the graphics were good, and that's the thing. You're gonna be able to play these games. One person, Mega Ran,
Okay.
he had asked me about the most intense game that I got running on it, and that was um not Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate runs on it too. Baldur's Gate 3. Someone else asked me about that, but it was Dragon's Dogma 2.
Uh-huh.
Because Dragon's Dogma 2 is
You're right.
that's it. That game is like that game is hard to run on anything. Like it seems like
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, that and then Monster Hunter Wilds. Admittedly though, since the last few updates, Monster Hunter Wilds has a serious crashing problem. So, I had clips of Monster Hunter Wilds running like, plus 60, and then all of a sudden it was like, I think it was the last update or the update before that. And then now it's like it'll play for a while, you'll be able to play, and then all of a sudden it starts freezing and then it crashes. And that's not really a hardware problem. That's a software optimization problem. So
Exactly.
so but it'll play your games. It's I guess what I mean to say is the downside is you're not gonna be playing at the same power as the big three. Well, it's more powerful than the Nintendo Switch 2.
Right.
So, yeah,
Exactly.
I'll set that down for a second. It's definitely more powerful than Nintendo Switch 2. But it's not gonna be more powerful than your Xbox Series X or your PS5. It's arguably about as powerful, maybe close to a Series S.
Okay.
Um, I know that say Baldur's Gate 3, for example, you'll be able to play that on medium to high settings, split screen, and still get a good, I want to say about 45 FPS average with that.
All right. Let's see what he's asking. Says one with the podcast will return hopefully next year. That's the goal. Run. Hopefully be back and running next year. And it says he got to follow us like around feature about in the game show. Like, what will y'all show on the showcase? Yes. Can I elaborate? Oh, never.
Oh,
Oh, mhm.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, he was just asking what y'all showed on the show it on the showcase. That's probably what he was asking.
Okay. Well, the showcase we had yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we just literally hooked up the Quartercade at a bar and had people come over and just play games. And so we had a few games. We played at Sonic Cross Worlds. That plays high settings, roughly 45 to 60 FPS, depending on how you tweak it. But yeah, high settings for that one. Miles Morales, we had someone came in and he wanted to play Miles Morales, so he was playing that for a while. We got a little clip of that. We played Absalom, which is a beat 'em up that just came out, which everyone needs to play that game. That game is
Yes.
wonderful.
I've seen that in action. It's like, wow, that looks awesome.
That game is dope. As a matter of fact, right before this podcast, I was playing Absalom. So right before this interview, I was playing Absalom. And then we had trying to think some other ones. Oh, one kid was a big Sonic fan, and
Oh,
he came in, he sat down, and this is a good one. He sat down and he put on Sonic Adventure DX. And so he's playing Sonic Adventure DX on the Quartercade. And I just thought it was the coolest thing because I remember it just reminded me of myself when I was like 10 years old and the Dreamcast was kind of being phased out almost, but they
Yeah,
still
man.
had it at a
2001.
yeah, yeah, and they almost had an there was this EB Games that still had a Dreamcast set up, and I remember walking into there and asking them if they could put on the demo for Sonic Adventure, even though it was kind of old, you know. And the guy's like, "You sure you want to play that old game?" I was like, "Yeah, I want to play that." And then I remember it because I didn't have a Dreamcast at the time, and yeah, it reminded me of that. So it was kind of cool to see, you know, someone come in and play my console and ask for an older title and it'd be the same game pretty much, you know. That was a cool memory. So
All right.
yeah.
So we got another. There's a rumor that y'all are featured of the Quartercade of the gamer section in the game show. So the DJ, what would y'all show on the showcase? Well, I guess that's
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I remember I don't know if it was you that was sending me a message or someone else that was part of the gamer section media, but I remember us going back and forth talking about that. I know I wanted to do on our game channel with me and my wife. We wanted to do a thing where we like showcase games, you know, and kind of be like, oh, this plays on the Quartercade, that plays on the Quartercade, and kind of do a kind of our own like Nintendo Direct style kind of thing, you know, or you know, PlayStation State of Play, you know, like new games coming out. Here's what can play on the Quartercade, and then, you know, blah blah blah. So we probably just share those games, you know. Indie games will probably highlight because again, it seems like the big three and the AAA industry seems to be kind of losing touch with gamers and what we actually want, you know. So we probably highlight a lot of the indie stuff, and then you know some of the bigger names and stuff, bigger stuff that you could play that you're looking forward to because there's still some good, you know, AAA, double A games as well coming out. Shout out to Expedition 33. That was amazing, you know. Small
Hell
team,
yeah.
but definitely a double A style or double A um I want to say scope when it comes to their game. So, you know, yeah, stuff like that.
All right, that's cool. Get down to the nitty gritty. What's the release window?
Yeah, so we that's kind of an interesting question because we're finishing up our Kickstarter now. When we're done with the Kickstarter and when the Kickstarter funds come through, we're gonna be actually hand delivering Quartercades to those who got them that are nearby because we got quite a few locally who are like they want Quartercades, they backed for them, and then we're gonna ship the rest of the Quartercades, get them into the hands of people, and that's our goal because we want people to start playing the Quartercade and be able to come and tell other people, hey, like this thing's legit, you know. And so after that, what we're gonna do, where there's gonna be a whole window of about, I want to say about a month or so, where we're gonna be airing out whatever supply that the supplier has, as far as you know the hardware, and then we'll probably sell those directly, and then we're gonna be coming up in with our iteration of the Quartercade 2.0, which we've been talking about recently, and the reason why it's gonna be a little window before we officially release it is because first we gotta see what Steam is up to. We gotta see what they're how they're gonna position themselves. Because if they end up their machine is stronger than ours, you know, obviously. It's like sitting around a 4060 or a little bit I think they said a 7600 XT, I think it was. Which is I mean that's a pretty that's a decent machine. That's a mid-range, you know, a gaming rig right there. And we got to see where they're going to position themselves price wise before we either continue with the Quartercade 350, maybe do our more custom job, which would be a little bit more, probably about I want to say 399 or maybe 450, and then once we see what they're doing and we reposition ourselves, then we can, you know, figure out exactly the time window. It wouldn't take that long afterward. We just have to see what's going on there because, hey, if they go real cheap for some reason, they said they're not going to take a loss, so they're probably not going to do that. But if they go real cheap for some reason, then we want to make sure we're offering value too. They have more resources than we do, so they could do whatever they want. Gabe Newell over there, he's on his yacht. He just went and bought a new boat with $500 million, you know, that has a hospital on it. You know, like they have resources, you know, and they have resources that we don't have. And so we have to be honest and kind of assess the next move. We didn't expect the Steam Machine to come out. we we were gonna release the Quartercade right after the Kickstarter, and then we were like, yeah, because we wanted to offer the budget option. But if they go in and they say, yeah, $399, we're gonna tell people go get a Steam Machine, okay? Like we'll make something new, you know, like we'll make something that's reasonable, you know, like not in the 900. What's Xbox talking about $1,200? We're not gonna be up there. We ain't gonna be up there, you know. But at least if they position themselves real cheap, then a real budget like, then we'll probably, you know, step aside and do something that's a little more beefier for those who want something a little more powerful and you know, but reasonable at the same time, you know, not something you have to break the bank for still. So yeah, that's what we're looking at. So we're give us a little bit of time and we'll update you on that. But in the meantime, though, as long as there's stock, we'll be selling Quartercades, the 1.0s, which I believe still we have units available up. I want to say until the end of December. We'll be pretty sitting pretty. So
well, that's good. Yeah, because I like about the design is like, hey, this budget, you don't have to worry about breaking the bank. It's like, hey, these are the games that you enjoy without breaking the bank. Hey, there you go. But
yeah.
All right. Here's another question for you. It's like, will y'all work with devs exclusive games for the console?
That's a good question. So I mentioned I'm a dev myself, and I had this game, this hip hop RPG, JRPG. It kind of in the style of Secret of Mana. I'm sure everybody knows Secret of Mana.
I know that.
Yeah. So kind of in the style of Secret of Mana, but with like the 4 elements of hip hop mixed into that. And basically, I mean, that would be the first console exclusive, you know, once I get that one. And I want to say that I'll be able to finish the version that I'm working on, the remake that I'm working on for it, probably in the next few months. So once, I mean, and that's post Quartercade 2.0. So we're talking once we got that stuff figured out, soon after that, you'll be seeing that. And then another title named Astroverse that I've been working on. It's a bit of a I want to say it's one of those passion projects because it's kind of my favorite genre, my 2 favorite genres mixed together with my favorite, like the style of my favorite game series, which is Phantasy Star.
Okay, cool. All right. Of course, this question is for me. So what are your plans for the gamer section in 2026? I mean, like I said, I mean, other than reviews, probably get more interviews for products. You know, we can do unboxings, things like just to name a few. You know, because like I said, I mean, 2026 will be here before you know it. Other things about that, but I mean, yeah, I mean, I like your product. I mean, yeah, I definitely can't wait to see this thing in action. You know, don't mind reviewing it. You know, for the gamer section, that's hey, demonstrate this all in action. So hey, let them know that hey, I interviewed the guy that helped create this thing. You know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and you know what's interesting? I guess this once we put the Quartercade out, we I guess technically be the first ones to ship a PC console hybrid. So it's kind of I mean, unless you count definitely the Steam Machine, right? Like that was
Yeah,
back in 2015 when they did that, um, which that didn't work out so well. But I wouldn't. No one should ever throw shade at us at Steam or Valve until they
right,
start selling shares. They're private. So and they're still, like I said, they're still batting for us gamers. So we don't throw shade at those guys, like they do their thing, Gabe
right,
Newell's over there chilling. But yeah, other than that, I guess, with all the talk of PC console hybrids, I guess we'd be shipping some of the first of these batch, of this generation of PC console hybrids. So I guess that's kind of a cool thing, and you guys could be like, yeah, the guy who did the first ones, or put out the first ones, you guys should check that out. We interviewed them.
all right. Let's see, we got the latest question. I'll show it on there. And he's asking, will the Quartercade have his own achievement system?
No, no, that's not really the planned at first. Unfortunately, the thing with the Quartercade is we want to give people the freedom. We want to give them the ability to just play their games. We're trying not to throw in bells and whistles that really are not super necessary, especially because the Quartercade, it's dipping into all of these PC environments like Steam and like Epic, and they already have those achievement systems. So if you got a Steam library and you're playing your Steam games on it, you're gonna have achievements already. There's no need for it to be established again on top of that. So I guess in a way it's a kind of a yes and a no, because no, we're not going to facilitate that, but yes, Steam does, and I think Epic has achievements as well.
Right.
Yeah, I have a bunch of games on Epic, free games. I have a whole library of free games on Epic, and I hardly even log into Epic and play.
Trust my
um,
backlog on Steam is crazy.
Oh my goodness, yes, yeah. Oh man, so many games I still got to play on Steam, and which the Quartercade will be a boon for someone who's trying to clear out their backlog. They're
Right.
trying to clear out their backlog because, and I'll say specifically why. Not only does it run the modern games, but if you start going backwards in time, like a PS4 era or a PS4 generation, Xbox One generation, or like X or 360 and PS3, these games are running on high graphics settings. They're running on what do you call it? Ultra. If you hit like I tested the original version of the Tomb Raider game, the definitive edition. If you remember they did that Tomb Raider reboot, you know. I got that running on Ultra, so it's like ultra 60 FPS, So if you're like, I want to go back and play games that I missed, especially if you were a Nintendo fan and you
Yeah.
missed all these dope games, yeah, Quartercade is gonna be your friend because you're gonna find, all of these hidden gems and games that are just like running like butter on there with high graphics. One of my favorites to mention is Batman Arkham Origins.
Yeah.
It's like a sleeper Batman game, and that's a high quality game. You're running that game at 60 FPS and high settings on the Quartercade. So it's like, stuff like that. Another one, which you could play on Nintendo Switch, I think. Yeah, there's a version of it, but Kingdoms of Amalur is one of my favorite games, like period. And that's another game that's like, if you missed it, get a Quartercade, go play that, go get it on sale for $15. There's a remake, play that. You can play that on high settings, stuff like that. So
I mean, yeah, honestly, I would love to unbox it and review the Quartercade, probably when that time comes. But
mm-hmm.
of course, he has a follow up question. It's like, will y'all drop a Quartercade with headphone? Does it have like a headphones jack? I think that's what he's referring to.
There's a headphone jack. I don't know about Quartercade headphones, but I am a producer. Actually, as of last Friday, I've been officially um featured on a Grammy nominated album. So, you know, I guess, we could do like Dre or something, the Quartercade Beats headphones or something. But yeah, I haven't thought of that one yet. That's an interesting question. We'll maybe we'll explore that at some point.
All right. Also, well, I mean, like I said, I like to appreciate you breaking everything down to it, but that's basically we have all the questions that we have. But well, before we go, go ahead and shout out to everybody. Drop your social media, let where everybody know where they can follow you at.
Oh yeah. The easiest way to find us is just through the website, thequartercade.com, and you're gonna find everything from there. And that's thequartercade.com. And yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be links and stuff. I can send links over. Matter of fact, I see the chat right here. Am I able to post, something right here? I could just put thequartercade.com.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me do that.
Yeah, while you're
Yeah,
doing
so
that, honest Gambler, yes, I do know a person on the team that raps.
yeah. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I do rap. I do produce. I've been doing that for man,
Right.
15 years.
Wow.
50, yeah, I guess it's been 15 years about. Yeah. I used to do rap battles back in high school and move the crowd and stuff. I'm a real pure. I used to be a real purist for
Right.
hip hop, the four elements, the
Yeah.
DJ, the MC,
Right.
the graffiti artist, the b-boy, and like that was a big thing. And and it was always hip hop culture and gaming culture, and it just like that was
Right.
always my thing. So so if you turn on your Quartercade and you start hearing some beats in the main menu, I'm sorry. That's just the vibe. I'll probably gravitate towards, but
All right.
um yeah.
All right, everyone. Like I said, this is your boy Sinister. You can also follow me on my social media. It's Country19 on Twitter or X. I'm Sinister 1019 on Instagram, and of course on the gaming side, it's Sinister Tarheel all caps on Xbox, Body Count 92 on PlayStation, and my Switch code I can't give that one out. And of course on Steam it's Sinister Tarheel spelled normally. Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, Gabby, you know who that person is, so we know we're not going to answer that here. You already know the answer. So, anyways, folks, all right, this concludes this interview. Like I said, but I appreciate DJ Jones here. And definitely, you'll see the Quartercade and all that when it drops. So, in other words, this is Sinister. Be easy. Y'all have a good weekend.